Last month, I traveled. Bus rides across this country seem to happen with the speed of falling in love. You never realize how long it takes, yet you enjoy every second of it. I find I'm constantly asking myself questions like, as people, why do we need to go places so much? You see, I want to go to Australia, and Egypt, and well, everywhere. So I guess what I'm asking is, as people, why do we love adventure? They say any advent is a pleasure, and dreams, they're the kids who always seem to run away from home in search of life's treasures, and it's strange. Maybe they're adopted. I've never been a foster kid, but I foster thoughts of unwantedness, and the awkwardness makes me think that chasing after them isn't really what they want, but just what we want, because everyone wants to be a hero. Hey, my name's Addie Abbott, and I'm a spoken word poet from St. Lucia. For me, poetry is life. Poetry is self-expression. And I think the reason why it's such a, spoken word, for instance, is becoming such a powerful art form now, just because it's accessible. I was always just fascinated by the idea of England, because I've never been here before, but I've been to the States. And I was like, well, you know, England has that sense of prestige about it. So I wanted to come to university here. The poetry scene in Sheffield is amazing. Like, I wish I knew about it in my first years of uni. I didn't. I only found out about it at the end of my second year. And I went to one of the poetry nights called the Guerrilla Events. For typical Guerrilla Events poetry night, you get a family. That's what it is. Like, you get a family of people coming together to share their stories. We have a bunch of pints, we laugh it off, we joke around, and it's just amazing poetry from amazing poets. Poetry is all about sharing. It's all about a community. Every poet that I've met at like an open mic night and I've heard them perform, we have that kind of relationship, like, hey, I know what's going on in your life, because we don't lie in poetry, because there's no need to lie.
The reason that I got into poetry was through depression. It was my own escape. So I used the poetry to get down what I was feeling, get it out there to other people, which then in turn made me feel better as a person. Each and every person is valued, and we all tend to work from the same ethic. This is just this. This is for my sorrow. This meaning is hollow. This is just a phrase used to describe this. This is for my mother, this is for my father, this is for you. Because I know you'll understand this.
People tend to think that poetry is all about, you know, just reading into a book, or reading from a book, reading from a piece of paper, and it has to be A-B rhyme scheme, or A-A-B-B. Mary had a little lamb. You know, people tend to think it's along that kind of spectrum. But when they actually get down to a night, they realize that, you know, it's a lot bigger than that.
The high street was busy, but no one was paying for anything. He understood there were no plasma TVs on his walls, so they escaped the treatment of the Ladbrokes down the road, and books don't have microchips in them, and books can't receive 999 channels, and books aren't in HD unless you close your eyes every so often and think.
You meet a lot of people coming to these nights, and they keep coming back and they keep coming back, and you make friends with them, and everyone is sort of very much a feeling of sort of in it together and supporting each other. It's really nice. I probably wouldn't have had the confidence after my first night to come back somewhere else and read again for the same night or a different night or whatever. Like, if people weren't welcoming and if people weren't supportive.
I like coming to these nights because it gives me a place to showcase my work, a place to have a live rehearsal and meet other people as well.
When the moon glows and the sun's rays.
I try to write as often as I can, but because of how I look at it now, I kind of just say, you know what, when the inspiration comes, I need to be there to catch it. Sometimes I'd go for a walk in the park and then sitting there and I'd be like, I'm at one with nature. I feed off nature because I can only write about my story. So I just try to make sure that my environment inspires me, from trees to squirrels to people running around to kids playing in the playground. And I try to embrace the simplicity in that and just bring that into my writing. Try to bring a different element, you know, about that honesty and that genuine sense of happiness and appreciation into a story that's actually relevant to people. For me, writing a poem, like when I originally started, it was just about like, getting stuff off my chest. But then I would write it in such a way that only I would understand it. So then I realized, well, okay, it's more about, giving off your story to other people in a way that, it is accessible to them.
I mean, Nights at the Riverside are always really packed with awesome acts and just genuine poetry. They have a couple open mic slots, so I'm really excited about it.
I'm tired of being cold
all the time.
Even inside, no heat finds the parts of me that need it most.
The back of my neck, my hands, my feet, that you were numbed by holding for 3
of 4
seasons.
This is why it hurts
to be with you for too long.
There's definitely a community within poets, within the poetry. Like there is a poetry community. I have a passion for language, so I'd like to try and find, using spoken word poetry to engage a room full of strangers. The night at Word Life in Sheffield so far has been incredible, like really inspiring open mic.
We've just had open mic, but it was a really high standard of open mic. Really enjoyed it. It's a very supportive scene, so newcomers can come in and they can talk about whatever they want and they can be whoever they want, and people are generally very accepting of everyone.
I say, okay, so if it has to end, it ends like this. I threw myself through the wide window and I plummeted downwards to the backdrop of the night sky with twinkling dots of glass entwined.
I'd say that I was really inspired by the kind of command that one person can have over an audience.
I've been doing poetry for a while, and it's just to give you an inch to go the miles, like in my smile, in the hopes that just a little part of your day will be a bit brighter. I've already told you that I'm traveling. Dreams, they have a head start. So head in the right direction and make sure you always follow your heart, because dreams are the kids that always seem to run away from home, and it's strange. So go after your brother, chase after your sister. Forget about having a babysitter and sit in the driver's seat of the believer, the dreamer, the achiever. I've already told you that I'm traveling. And by now, you know that I'm a wanderer. I'm not gonna stop chasing after this kid. And neither should you. You see, this is the escape movement. Welcome. These dreams aren't gonna chase themselves. Let's go. Thank you.
When I first came here, like people held the door open for me. And now, like throughout the past year, I've developed and grown as a poet. And now I can hold the doors open for people as well. I've got to bring what I've learned here back home, maybe take it across to America. Just continue to develop as a poet and continue to tell my story. The future for spoken word poetry, it's big. It's like, because poetry's kind of been that art form that hasn't really developed with the age and technology. So I think this is the time, this is the revolution.
What did you want to be when you grow up? What was your passion? What's stopping you? Obstacles are the background of your picture perfect, so tell me, what's cropping you?